Do you ever worry that your dinner party's going to bomb? That half a dozen of your best chums are going to show up for a meal that you're not up to delivering? Well, you're not alone. I've been cooking or planning meals for people most of my life. I've worked at the top and the bottom of the industry, and I promise you that every chef, and I mean every chef, has at some point had that same nightmare. And it's crazy, because when you think about it, a meal can never be more important than the people sharing it. And with the right ingredients, the right people, and the right attitude, then a great meal experience is all there waiting to happen. And it's not about technique or fancy food either. Take this dish for instance. Some cracking Isle of Skye rope-grown mussels, washed, de-bearded and thrown in a red-hot pan with a good slug of zesty wheat beer and a handful of chopped onions. Stick the lid on and wait for them to open. Pour in some cream, bring it to the boil, add some chopped parsley and bingo, a simple meal with flavour well beyond its cost and one your mates will talk about for weeks. I learned this from a bunch of fishermen on a rickety old boat off the Scottish coast. They didn't know a Michelin star from a Michelin tyre, but by God they knew mussels. And they taught me that beer can sometimes be a more appropriate and tasty accompaniment than people give it credit for. I guess what I'm saying is that ultimately, great meals are created by good people. People who care more about the eating pleasures of their pals than what the meal says about them. And that's true all over the world. Let me show you what I mean. Cuba, an island in the Caribbean with possibly one of the most colourful histories in the world. From Columbus and the Spanish, right through to Castro's revolution, Cuba's been mixing it up with everybody for the best part of 400 years. 11 million people with a fire in their belly and a passion in their soul. It strikes me as strange then that Cuba's got a pretty lousy reputation for its food. I suspect comments such as "you can't get any" and "don't go for the food" say more about the way we source our meals than the way the Cubans eat. If you could go to any city in the world and you want to experience the rather surreal feeling of seeing history happening, unfolding in front of your eyes, I can't think of a better place than Havana. Amidst this amazing architecture, there's decay beyond belief, but there's also this amazing rejuvenation going on as well. And the people, I mean, the people are amazing. You've got this warmth, this love of life, and yet these people are poor, they have nothing. The poverty is unbelievable. I just can't wait to see how that translates itself into the eating experience, into the food that they have and the food they eat. I love it. I've just been walking along the harbour front here and I've just found this amazing bar. I mean, you can hear it now. The music's started, there's not a tourist in sight. We've got a kitchen in the back, there's this big raw iron oven thing and there's woman cooking rice. It looks amazing. So we're going in. Come on guys, come and check this out. Francisca, ¿cómo estás?
Bien, ¿cómo está? Bien, gracias.
So this is where you cook the rice, yeah?
El agua hervida.
May I taste? Look at this. Beautiful, perfect grains of rice, all separated perfectly. That is beautiful. This is the raspa, yeah? This is what happens when the rice sits on the bottom of the pan. And this colour, there's loads of flavour in that colour. Real proper caramelisation. And that is delicious, and this is a delicacy. That system is like 100 years old in Cuba. And what is this, Francisco?
Este es arroz con lenteja.
These are lentils, like we say lente, sí. Muy bien, muy bien. Mucho sabor, much flavour. OK, so it might not get past the health and safety people back home, but it worked, and by God the food was great. A bunch of simple ingredients thoughtfully thrown together to give a new meaning to rice and beans. for dessert, an unexpected workout with the band. Let's face it, you don't come to Cuba to stand in the kitchen when there's a party going on. One of the things I'd learnt about Cuban food was that much of it is served in paladares, private restaurants run by Cubans in their own homes to subsidise their meagre incomes. Some are state licensed, but because of the cost, many are illegal, and I set out in search of my first ever illicit meal in a modern-day speakeasy. We've stopped at this place. This is an official restaurant, and there's a guy who is going to roll us some cigars. Anyway, we're going to have some home-rolled tobacco. Cuba exports around 100 million cigars a year, worth about $50 million. Most come from the big factories like the magnificent Cohiba. Their coffee's pretty damn good too. So when master craftsman Senor Gonzalez offers to put the kettle on and gives you a smoke, it's not something you turn down.
No fuerte. Sí, este sí fuerte. Fuerte. Negro, mira, ese es negro, este no. Y a los 15. This was this a few minutes ago. This is the freshest cigar you're ever going to smoke. Dinner time. What I found most interesting was the way the family used every part of their world to provide everything they need for self-sufficiency. The place was a farming microcosm. Animals reared for companionship and food. Fruit and vegetables grown on all available space, all without the aid of a single chemical. I tried to look for a downside to their way of life, but their warmth and their passion for their environment convinced me that a takeaway pizza with Coronation Street isn't such a big deal after all. They even make their own coffee here, and this is sensational stuff. I'm smoking the cigars he's made here, I'm drinking the coffee they've grown and made here. I mean, you could live here happily for the rest of your life with just the things that is on this little plot of land here. I mean, do these chickens look chilled out or what? Right, just come and have a look at this. Anyway, much as I could have happily stayed there for the next few years, it was time to press on. We were heading for the hills and some extreme cuisine. And what a journey! The roads were lined with hitchhikers and produce sellers, and the old cars were mind-blowing. But I was getting seriously hungry, so I was well happy when we got a tip-off that there was a character in one of the outlying villages who was regarded as a bit of a Paladares legend. They said, you can't miss him. He'll either be serenading a senorita or tinkering with his motorbike. Whatever you do, though, don't accept a lift. That was an adventure. He took me to see the source of our promised feast and threw in a free history lesson. It was certainly more exhilarating than a visit to the supermarket, no doubting the quality and provenance of these ingredients. If only our animals were reared so well. Back at his house and part-time bootleg restaurant, we got into some serious food prep. Nothing complicated, mind you, just simple ingredients of awesome quality. And this is quite a strong beer, isn't it? 5.4%. The pig looked delicious, and the crayfish? I'd seen smaller lobsters. Senor Boso's wife spooned the meat from the heads and mixed it with oil, tomato and garlic, an inspired sauce and a barbecue masterclass. The lack of polished processed rice necessitated the individual sorting of each grain, and I couldn't help noticing that this level of care and attention got into every strand of their preparation, even down to the arrangement of the salad. This is a light beer. Yes. Okay, there's no hops, there's no bitterness, it's really light and fruity, and there's herbs and spices. And I would drink this with this. Yeah. This is the real star of the show. And this is the centerpiece of the table. We've got 100 years of Cuban culinary history right here. This pig has been fed on garlic, it's been fed on bitter oranges, it's been marinated in beer. This recipe goes back to before Castro, pre-1959, pre-revolution. And these people are putting it on the table for us today, and it's really special. It's been split completely in half. But look at the colour here. And you can see here these little holes. And this is where they've put in garlic, they've put in the onion, they've put in herbs. I mean, the flavour here is fantastic. The beer brings out the flavour, and the whole experience is enhanced. They care about what they eat. We've finished this, and oh, we've got the pig coming.
Uncedo, see? That meat is so light, it's so tender, it's so succulent.
The pig was fantastic, particularly the cheek. It just melted in the mouth. It's a shame it's a cut we so often neglect in this country.
And the beer has just very gently marinated the meat, I think.
It was a great meal with warm and generous people. And before I left, I found my host had one more hidden talent. Go on, Julio. By the third day, we were really getting into the Cuban groove, and that barbecue had been so inspiring, I was just dying to get one fired up myself. So, convinced that the early bird gets all the fish, the following morning I bundled a bleary-eyed crew into the van to go in search of the seaside Latino style.
You cannot come to Cuba without experiencing a bit of beach life, and this is the real thing. There's some guys over there who are fishing. Hopefully I'm going to buy some of their fish that they've just caught off them, and I'm going to put it on the barbecue. I've got some great beers. I've got about 5 different beers. I'm going to try and match them up with each course. This is going to be a total Havana barbecue banquet. Fantastic. What, 5 minutes old, yeah? 5 minutes old. Bien. Oh, okay. Muchas gracias. It seems to me that apart from the national drink of rum, Cubans drink beer with just about every meal, even breakfast. That's not surprising when you think that there is a microbrewery in every region of Cuba. Each one of those breweries is producing a different flavoured beer. When you think about that in world terms, it's quite mind-blowing, because every country in the world is producing its own beer in different regions with its own water, with its own hops, with their own different flavours that they put into it. Start multiplying that out and you've got more beer flavours than you have food flavours. So therefore there is a beer for every single meal experience, for every different food that you're ever going to eat. I've just selected here a few that I've found during my time in Cuba. First of all, we've got the Cristal. Uniquely, this has got no bitterness to it. There's no flavour of hops to it, but it's really fresh, it's really light, it's really effervescent. So we're going to have that as an aperitif. Next, we've got the Mayabee. This is fruity, there's a subtle hop flavour to it. And I got these great tomatoes from the farmer's market this morning. I'm going to make bruschetta with them, with some parsley and some garlic and some spring onions. That's going to go great with that. Then we've got the Bucanero. This is the strong one, fuerte as they say in Cuba. And this has got a full flavour of hops. It's actually quite smoky as well. So it's ideal with barbecue food. And then we're going to finish off with this La Tropical, which I'm really excited about. It's kind of like it's like an English ale or stout, which is a classic accompaniment to cheese. That's going to be the perfect one for the last course.
For my beach bruschetta, I cut slices of baguette thick enough to stay soft in the middle when toasted on the outside. A bit of salt and pepper, olive oil, and then a good rub with a cut clove of garlic made the ideal base for a juicy tomato, spring onion, and parsley salsa. After cleaning the fish, I simply seasoned and grilled them, giving them the minimum of cooking time to avoid drying out the flesh. It should be a criminal offence to overcook fish this fresh. In fact, it almost seems a shame to cook them at all. Time for the chorizo. After a quick nod of thanks in the direction of Spain, I just slit them through the middle and let the Barbie do the work. Crisp salad was the ideal foil for the sweet spiciness of the smoked paprika. It looks easy, because it is, and I really can't think of a more enjoyable meal to share with friends as the sun goes down. Oh, one last thing. If you do go to Cuba, watch out for one of the more eccentric local customs.
No, I'm having a shower. That's good. Just check this out. It's 70 degrees, the sun's shining, and we're in Buena Vista. This is the home of Cuban music. This is where Cuda came. This is where he met Ruben Gonzalez. This is where the whole Buena Vista Social Club thing kicked off. I came down here yesterday, in that garage over there, there was a band playing. And guess what? They invited us to a party. We're going to get some Cuban food today. We're going to party Cuban style with some great music.
And my new pal Mercedes was just the person to make it happen.
I have a party today because Cuban people like so much the party. Many centuries ago, the first civilization in Cuba was Indian.
So we're eating Indian food from the original Cuban indigenous population.
Okay. For this reason, it's very popular. I prepare in the kitchen or in the garden. I prefer in the garden.
I prefer in the garden.
Without ceiling, under sky.
What are we going to eat this afternoon?
Well, this afternoon is going to eat cardosa. Only cardosa.
Today, I'm your assistant.
Okay.
Because you are the best cook in Cuba.
Okay, thank you very much.
You really are.
Thank you
and I'm going to learn from you.
Okay, thank you. It's a pleasure.
I can't wait.
Okay.
We've got our shopping list. Should we go and do some shopping?
What shopping?
Let's go.
Okay, come.
Look at these tomatoes. This is fresh garlic, yeah? These smell sweet.
Yes, sweet.
This is straight off the tree. Good colour to the meat. Oh, this is malanga. This is beautiful. The sounds of this market, it's buzzing. The smells are amazing. And we've got 4 bags of food here. We've got pork, we've got plantain, we've got bags of onions, £5 for the lot. It's unbelievable. We've got all our ingredients from our market here, Mercedes. Tell me what the recipe is, what we're going to do with them.
Okay. Vegetable is pimiento.
Pimento, the green pepper.
Onion.
Cebolla.
And garlic.
Ajo.
Okay.
Okay, and we fry that, yeah?
Fried in oil.
In the oil.
In a small pot, together with puree.
Tomato puree.
Tomato puree. And with the red of the paprika.
Okay.
Comino.
The cumin. And the oregano.
And peculiar smell.
That is lovely. That is fresh.
Okay.
And this you call the sofrito. Yeah?
Sofrito. Together, all this spice. Wash the meat, scald with clean water.
Right.
And cut the meat in small pieces. It's possible that you can fry this kind, the fat.
Oh, that would be nice. I love it. Oh, pork
it's
crackling.
Chicharrón.
Chicharrón.
In Cuba, chicharrón.
Like crackling. Pork crackling. I love that stuff.
For it, together with beer. It's very good.
I can't work without beer.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Salut.
Thank you very
bon
much.
appetit.
Bon appetit.
Okay.
Remember what I was saying about a great meal being more than the food? I wish I could show you the culinary results of this amazing afternoon, but I have to confess, it all fell apart. We started off full of good intentions and ingredients, but that was before the beer, the moonshine and the music kicked in, and I couldn't think of a more perfect environment for the chaos. First, someone accidentally emptied the veg water into the stew. The fire went out for nearly an hour before anyone noticed. Then we lost the crockery, the cutlery, and finally the whole plot. To be honest, no one really gave a damn. God, did we have fun.
Vamos a comer. Muy bien. And this is why the food tastes so good in this country. This is an organic market,
And they are everywhere in Cuba. In fact, there's no food produced here that isn't organic. This is food as nature intended. Sadly, most fruit and veg we eat in the UK comes via a time is money philosophy. Luckily for the Cubans, they operate on a much more admirable time is flavour notion. Harvesting is also taste orientated, with everything being picked at its peak of flavour, and there's no premature mechanical harvesting in the name of longer shelf life. To complete such a textbook method of sustainable, flavour-driven farming, powerful aromatic herbs are used to ward off crop-destroying pests. Why use chemicals when gentle persuasion can achieve such perfect results?
The best bananas in Cuba.
After all the mayhem and madness, it was definitely time to take stock and calm things down a little. As well as the culture of alfresco eating and the upfront music, there's also a modern tradition of elegance and sophistication that's still very important in Cuban society. I was introduced to Rick, a contemporary Cuban with a real passion for cooking. He suggested that for my final foray into his country's cuisine, we prepare something a little more adventurous. So we decided on a stylish meal for some artist friends of his, a dinner party Cuban style.
This is fabulous. Well, we better go and do some shopping, haven't we? Right, let's go.
Of course, this is still Cuba, a place where the best laid plans of mice and chefs can go very wrong very quickly. We got the first course no problem, but the meal was centred around fish, and we needed some for the main course. Suddenly, the words of those doom-mongers I've been so sceptical of were coming back to haunt me. We went everywhere and asked everyone, but all we got were rumours about people who had fish, all of whom seemed to be in different directions. Well, failure is never an option for the Guerrilla Gourmet, and ultimately, of course, we got our fish. They might not have been pretty, but God, we were pleased to see them. Mission accomplished.
One of the facts about Cuban life is that everybody earns the same amount of money. It doesn't matter if you're a teacher, a road sweeper, a cab driver, or a doctor. It's the same for everybody. The luck of the draw is the house that you live in. In Castro's revolution of 1959, the house you were living in then is the house that you're living in now, where it's been passed down to your children, your grandchildren, whatever. Behind me is where we're having the dinner party tonight. It's the house of Leonardo, a famous Cuban artist, and his wife, Christina. So I'm in this magnificent house here with my good friend Ricardo. I can honestly say I've never been in a kitchen in my life before with such atmosphere and character. I've changed into the appropriate attire. I'm feeling part of the furniture already. We're on with the first course. So here's these lovely fresh prawns that we got this morning. We're now going to put these in the boiling salted water, and they just take seconds. People overcook fish, they overcook shellfish all the time. And what we're going to do, we're going to cool these down afterwards as quickly as we can, and then we're going to make a mayonnaise with pineapple juice, chopped up pineapple. Right, look at this. We've got this superb watercress that we got from the organic market this morning, and that's going to be mixed up with all the other ingredients, and that's going to be our first course. We're going to reserve the cooking liquor as well here, because we waste nothing with this at all. Because that cooking liquor is going to make our second course, the prawn consommé. They call it consommé, we call it a soup. To me, a consommé is a clear liquid. This is slightly different. We've put the heads of the prawns in here, we've put the shells in and the tails, it's all in there. And then we're going to bring that to the boil, and then we're going to add some of these sliced onions. This is celery. Actually, we're going to put the stalks in, not the leaves, because they'll just wilt. So we'll put those in, along with the parsley stalks. That's going to go in. It's going to simmer away for 2 hours, for 3 hours, however long it takes. And then we're going to strain off all the shells and all that stuff, so we've just got the liquid. We're going to add some corn flour to it to just thicken it up, and that will be our second course. So we're now ready to marinate the fish. We've been getting together our marinating ingredients. This is fresh orange juice, and what have we got Here, we've got parsley, haven't we?
Parsley, olive oil.
Yeah.
And some piece of salt.
And some salt. And that's just been pounded up in the pestle and mortar. Those two are going to get mixed together with the magic ingredient, yeah?
Not
beer.
the whole bottle.
Not the whole bowl. We'll drink the rest of it.
Sure.
It's a good plan. So here's our fish, red snapper. We've made some slits in the fish here, so this marinade is going to get right inside the fish. We're not actually going to put this fish on to cook for maybe another hour or so. I mean, the longer it's in the marinade, the more the flavours are infusing with the fish and all that flavours just mingling together. That's beautiful. We've got that sweet orange juice. It's balanced with the bitterness of the hops from this beer. We've got all the herbs coming through. Fantastic. You can't have fish without salt and pepper, can you? Every bit of exposed flesh wants to have all those flavours coming into contact with it. On with the marinade. Final stir for good luck. Okay, so that goes on the fish. Can I rub this in? This is, I love this bit. You've got to use your fingers, you know, in this sort of cooking. This is proper, really rustic, full-on flavour food. What we do with this, we keep some back and we reduce it right down, and it's what becomes like a sort of syrup, and that gets poured over the fish at the end. So this is now going to sit here, covered, for at least an hour or two. We'll put it in the fridge, and all the time, the longer the time that this marinade is in contact with the fish, the more the flavour is getting into the meat of the fish.
As at the beach, we decided to serve a different beer with each course. Only this time we treated it with a little more respect, and so we found glasses that went with the elegant surroundings.
We've got 10 minutes to go to service. It's getting hot in here. I'm sweating. We're working like mad. Well, Ricardo's working like mad anyway. I'm just talking like mad. Let's just check we've got everything ready, Ricardo. Right, first course. Here we go. We've got the prawns in there, yeah? We've got the mayonnaise, we've got the pineapple juice, the little chunks of pineapple, and we've got the watercress. Here's the consommé. We've strained it. We've got a concentrated flavour in there now, I think. Should we taste it and just check? Oh, that's amazing. That is prawn juice. If ever you want to try prawn juice, this recipe is it. Superb. The fish. Whoa. I wish we had smell-o-vision here. We've got the orange juice coming through there. We've got the beer. It's really reduced down. We've got some lovely flavours in there. I think that's ready, don't you? Should we get it off the heat? Right, superb. We're ready for action. Let's serve. Señoras y señores. Here we have camarones con mayonesa y piña. Wow. Thank you so much.
Cuando Juanita y Chan Chan en el mar servían arena, como sacudía el jibe, a Chan Chan le daba pena.
Here we go. This is my pescado de resistance.
So that was Cuba. Would I go back again just for the food? Frankly, it'd be hard not to. Was good food easy to find? Well, clearly not always. But the upside of that was I came into contact with a lot more people than if I'd just been able to pluck things off shelves. Given the warmth, the friendliness and the hospitality of everyone I met, that just has to be a plus. Hasta luego, Cuba. I'll be back. Thanks to everybody who made the trip so great. Next week, we're off on the road to Morocco, from Casablanca to Marrakesh, down through the Atlas Mountains to the desert. We're looking for mouth-watering African cuisine that costs little and tastes great. See you there.